Uncle Doug.
Uncle Dan.
Do you I need a new leader to follow.
You want to meet somebody?
Look, I am a directionless idiot.
That's right.
And I need leadership.
You're a follower.
I'm a follower.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, if there is, it doesn't matter because that's who I am.
I don't know if that can be healed.
No.
In the way we're going to talk about today, but we're going to try it.
Okay.
And before this is over, one of us is going to hit you with our coat. And hopefully,
yay!
That'll cure what ails you. So
I think I'm excited about that, but I'm not sure. So, Uncle Mark.
Yeah, well, this will be the first time there's a reason to do it.
Okay. Other than just for sexual pleasure,
a drunken rage as usual. So, fellas, I from time to time I do some heavy lifting on the show, vis-a-vis kind of the depressing side of religion and the shitty, sad stuff.
We all love those segments so much.
I don't know why I find that interesting, but like I'll do blood atonement, which is religiously sanctioned murder of mixed-race children, among others. And, then we'll talk about the ghastly sadist Mother Teresa and her claims or crimes against the helpless and shit that just ends up making me mad as I try to come up with some yucks about it, right? So, how to make this funny.
We do all the lighthearted stuff like the Mountain Meadows Massacre.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So this week I thought I'd pick a topic that's absurd and dumb and it wouldn't end up making me mad and raising your poor uncle's blood pressure beyond where it's already not safe. So, but it didn't work. So let me set the stage to meet our friend today. So, for any of our listeners who don't clearly recall the years between, say, 1980 and 1995.
I know I was passed out drunk most of that time.
I was sadly sober. And maybe they don't remember the American television landscape of those cursed years, where there were some channels out beyond the phantom zone on the cable box, where the tackiest versions of plastic Rococo revival sets that were just bedecked with acres of gaudy flowers and plastic plants and inhabited by people too ridiculous to be real, right? So it was men with hair that the stone from David's sling couldn't dent, in pastel-colored leisure suits, and women that looked like they were gathering roses in a Thomas Kinkade painting before they were brought to life by Ativan and Sanka, all sat on gold-leaf thrones under blazing studio lights. These were the overlit spaces where distant and unverified miracles were proclaimed and attested to all day, every day, where organ music constantly kept the geriatric viewers in a state of half-consciousness, and, luckily, where a 1-800 number was always on the bottom of the screen.
Sure.
Where the sick and the desperate and the dying could call in and divert a portion of their Social Security or disability checks in exchange for a promised miracle.
100% different from what we do.
Yeah, thank God that's...
My hair is more dentable. Just barely. So, what a time it was. There were names like Oral Roberts, Jerry Falwell, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, peace be upon them. Jimmy Swaggart, a name we've discussed, Dan, I think on episode 55, Peter Popoff.
Oh, yeah.
He of the radio frequency miracles. The ridiculous and financially creative Mr. and Mrs. Crouch, who are who bought Trinity Broadcasting Network.
Oh.
And she who seemed happiest sitting under a pile of pastel wigs. It was an absurd cast of charlatans and goobers that were and are called televangelists.
Right.
And why are their names so on the nose?
I know.
Like Oral and Swaggart. It's like, I'm, Madam Deception.
Well, now we've got Creflo Dollar, for God's sake.
That's right. So, some of those that I mentioned are dead. Many, but not nearly enough, spent time in prison. And, as you mentioned, their imitators still haunt us today, like Creflo Dollar, Joel Osteen, all these TV shysters. But there was one particular televangelist that I thought would be a fun and refreshing bit of ridiculous comedy for my segment this week.
You were wrong.
And I was wrong. But he is funny and ridiculous. That's part of his shtick.
Yeah.
But he's still very much around and may perhaps have cured your cancer by beating you on stage with his Nehru jacket. Today we speak, of course, of the pride of Jaffa, one Tufik Benedictus Hinn, known to credulous people with cable subscriptions and United States federal investigators as Benny Hinn.
Whoa!
Yeah. So, Benny looks like he has a Mercedes dealership in Beverly Hills. Like,
Yes, he does.
like he's got a lot of money, but still tacky as fuck.
Right.
He looks like a guy that would have gotten a picture with Mike Tyson and Donald Trump at a pay-per-view event in Atlantic City in 1993. And on his deathbed, remember that as the greatest moment of his life. Benny is garish to such a degree, he could have disappeared into the background of any of Saddam's palaces unnoticed. Like a televangelist ninja. If fat pinstripes and gold embroidery were heroin, Benny would have OD'd 10,000 times by now. And all that is topped off with a hair helmet of such curious workmanship, not even an autopsy attended by an old priest and a young priest will ever reveal its thicket of Gordian secrets. So what's Benny's shtick? What makes all that tacky tick? Well, Benny dispenses miracles. More accurately, he sells miracles.
Yeah.
Actually, more accurately, he sells access to be in his presence when miracles may or may not be dispensed.
Right.
But really, he runs a lottery in which you give everything you can to buy a miracle and then nobody wins.
I love that lottery.
Yeah,
That's
it's really great.
Interestingly, that's kind of how real lotteries work.
Except somebody wins and then their life is ruined
Right.
forever.
Somebody gets the money, but nobody still wins.
So Benny has for years been filling up arenas with people who are in desperate need of miracles. These are people who are suffering from every form of affliction and malady, and they pray and sing along and listen to the sermonizing of this deeply weird but truly charismatic man. So in the sermon, buckets get passed around, you won't be surprised. And Benny makes sure the good people remember how to completely fill out the credit card slips, you know, security number on the back, make sure you got your expiration. He says this all through the microphone, make sure it's all there. For the seed money funds to fund the miraculous. Now,
The seed money.
that's an important term in the televangelist world, seed money.
Yes.
They don't want the good people to think they're giving their desperately needed soup cash to help pay off Gulfstream jets or give $1.6 million to a pool boy for unspecified reasons. No, Benny and his jets are not what they want you thinking about.
See what I did?
Yeah, I was with you.
Seed money
You didn't give it the Benny.
I don't want to get sued. Elton is very litigious. So seed money is the faithful planting of a seed that will grow into a glorious stinging weed of miracles in your future or some shit like that. So he reminds people to pray over their seed money before they put it in the bucket so God will make sure to take away the cancer he gave them. So Benny's evening of praise and music builds to these crazy pretentious crescendos, and he invites selected, and we're going to come back to that word, selected members of the audience to the stage. Up they come, often in droves on both stage left and stage right. The room's very quiet. There have been melodious music. Usually it's How Great Thou Art, just played over and over and over for hours, low and slow.
Organ? Are we
Yep.
getting organ?
Yep.
Okay. I like it.
He just works the organ
Like
over and over.
Like great porn, Benny's performance builds and builds and builds. So people shuffle up to him in tears, and they're trembling with hope that they can be saved from agony or infirmity or literal death.
Yeah.
And Benny gets the show going by just touching them, and they fall backwards.
Yeah.
He's got these henchmen, and they just fall backwards into the arms of his henchmen. Then he ramps it up. He starts kind of dancing around, conjuring, casting spells. He kind of leaps from one side to the other.
Yeah.
And then he starts, grabbing people's faces two at a time, pushing them back. And he says, in this low growl, he starts saying, "Substance of the Holy Ghost," and pushes them back. "Substance of the Holy Ghost." And then it gets shortened to "Substance" as he's pushing them.
Wow.
And so he gets more and more wound up. And the crowd
Any
is-
word on what that means? Substance of the Holy Ghost?
I thought the whole point was he doesn't have any substance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive.
It's a name for cocaine.
Yeah. If you see the performance, it looks very coke-fueled.
Yeah,
So.
if you ever get up to the stage, you'll smell what's on his hands. Let's just say that.
So pretty soon he's just in this froth, right? He's got his jacket off. He's spinning and reeling. He's swinging his coat around and like hitting people with his coat. It's like a matador trying to fend off a swarm of zombies. And the swarms just collapse at the breeze from his coat. It's crazy. It gets to the point where whole sections of the audience will go, "Hoo-yah!
Yeah.
Fire!"
And they'll like dominoes. They fall
like
back.
dominoes
Yeah.
and fall back. So
It's fantastic.
you can check out the videos online. They are incredible. It is an amazing examination of group ecstasy and highly motivated participation.
Mm-hmm.
And it would probably be a super fun night, if we didn't see him as such a scumbag. Super fun night to go watch this madness happen. And as you were saying, Doug, people fall backwards. It's crazy watching them because at that point there's like elderly and middle-aged people just falling all the fuck over the place, over chairs, over each other. And I think it's pretty hilarious to imagine a person showing up at the ER and having to explain they were injured in a faith healing accident.
It's happened.
Oh, totally. These people are falling off the stage.
It's a good news, bad news thing.
Yeah.
Your cancer's gone, but your hip is broken.
But you're paralyzed. So in 2001, HBO made a really good and not super flattering documentary about Benny called A Question of Miracles.
Oh.
And I'll include it in the show notes, a link to it. In it, they show how he used the exact same techniques as a common stage hypnotist.
Sure.
Melodious, calming music for hours on end, leading the crowd in simple, repetitive dance movements, which he does, a lot of swaying, singing along. Then he's got people out working the crowd, finding what they consider, and he's kind of taught them how to spot the most susceptible and desperate people.
I hate to say this, but they're probably not that hard to spot.
No.
They're probably they're the most desperate, right?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay. So basically he gets these very susceptible people up on the stage, uses common hypnotist tricks. They are profoundly motivated to want this to work. So they're basically ready to believe anything.
Yeah.
And what he does is he gets them to writhe and to collapse and to convulse on the stage. Like there's this great power overcoming them. And that helps then convince the unconvinced in the audience that the miraculous is happening.
Right.
And then he really starts ramping it up.
You got to prime the pump.
Exactly. That's priming the pump. Exactly. And so when he's been confronted about this, he's like, I don't know anything about hypnotists. I don't know anything about hypnotists. I don't know anything about that.
Which may well be true because he doesn't have to. He could. I mean, he could have just learned. Been a lot of trial and error happening. He's been doing this for a while, and people before him were doing the same thing.
I don't remember her name, but there was a woman who was doing this in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that he saw live, and kind of took her technique. He admitted to it. He says, I was so inspired by her.
But I got to say, if you've seen these videos, this guy is the upper echelon of hypnotism.
Yeah.
No one's he's not copying anybody. This is his own thing that he's doing. Like everyone's copying him.
Yeah, when you watch them, it's clear that he is a clown and it's laughable and absurd. And he's a snake oil huckster.
Right.
But, and this is where I said I failed at the not getting mad part, there's a horrible wake of suffering and tragedy behind our friend Benny. In the same documentary, and there's quite a few. I'll put links in the show notes to a bunch of these. In the documentary, they drill down hard into his claims of healing countless people, like tens of thousands of people around the world. In one instance, he granted the HBO filmmakers unfettered access to an event in Portland. Anything you want. So something like 80 miracles were claimed there. All these miracles.
Oh.
So after months of pestering Hinn, the HBO lawyers and producers, he gave them the names of just 5 people that claimed miracles at that event. On follow-up by the documentary, all of them got worse after the healing, and I think 2 of them died in the months after. And in many cases here, his staff have told the quote-unquote healed person there was no need to continue any real treatment.
Oh, my God.
So those people were not available for comment, so their aggrieved loved ones had to speak for them.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
So the 2-bit hypnotism and mass desperation are the fuel that sustains Hinn's fire, but another key ingredient is how the people brought on the stage are selected. Very seldom is a wheelchair-bound person or a person missing a limb or with a severe cognitive disability brought up.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
People whose maladies are not outwardly apparent are the ones selected. So who can tell you whether or not your diabetes or your heart condition or your lung cancer is cured, right?
Pancreas is...
Or your mild ennui.
Right. So the visibly infirm try to get close to the stage, and it's so fucking sad to see. They're desperate for some miraculous splashover.
Right.
And in the videos, it's wrenching to see them trying to get up from their chairs or drop their crutches and walk, or, and they fall over in anguish. over and over, and parents with dying young children are like holding them up and wailing.
Okay,
right.
This isn't fun anymore.
Trying to get him to touch them, and it's fucking vile. So, yes, that makes him and his kind scumbags, selling hope to incredibly vulnerable, often mentally disabled people who maybe can't afford treatment in our evil healthcare system. But wherever there's slime and a rock, eels like Hinn will lurk underneath it, right? Whenever there's a space for that. So, but I think we can also pull back and look at the bigger picture here, which is who wants to worship a God that withholds these miracles tens of millions of times more often than he dispenses them?
Right.
And if you go so far as to accept Hinn's portrait of just such a God, to receive one of these vanishingly rare miracles, you have to write a check to some wacko with a Trump-style hair hat and make a public spectacle of yourself to get relief.
And the truth, I don't know if you've seen some recent videos of him. I've seen some, I've watched a couple of recent videos. He's jaded about the whole thing now. He barely, somebody comes up on the stage and he just kind of half-heartedly pushes their face away from him.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, you're healed. Whatever the fuck. Come here. Okay, get another one. Okay, you're healed too.
The magic is gone.
Yeah.
So, just so we don't end our time with the ridiculous Benny Hinn on such a negative note, he's made even crazier claims than just curing Aunt Edna's glaucoma. He says in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, a man turned into a snake on stage in front of an entire arena, and that he has it on video.
What? Where's that on YouTube?
I looked for it. He claims one woman's tumor fell out of her body on stage and shattered on the floor.
That is something that you don't want to see.
That wasn't a tumor.
He claimed he could raise your own dead family member if you pushed their cold dead hands against the TV screen while he was on it. And that in Africa, he raised a man from the dead in front of a massive crowd.
Wow.
He also claims devils and demons come into America in non-white immigrants from overseas, and he has to constantly be exercising
like
those.
himself.
So we're talking about future Secretary of the Interior right now, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
And so, just to finish, I thought about this documentary a lot while I was researching for this. There's a very bizarre world of crazy for-profit American evangelizing, and I want to include a link in the show notes to an amazing documentary called Marjo. Have you guys seen Marjo?
No.
So it's about an old-time evangelical big tent celebrity that secretly turned on the movement to show what an awful, cynical scam it was, and this documentary is kind of how he did it. Super, super interesting, well worth checking out. But anyway, that's Benny Hinn.
Wow. What?
So,
I prefer Benny Hill. I'm just gonna say, although I'll bet Benny Hinn would be great with wackety sax over
Yakety
it.
sax playing when he's knocking everybody down would be fantastic.
Oh my God, that has to exist.
I'm sure that exists.
Yeah, I'm going to look for it now. So all right.
All right. Well,
thanks for that.
Thanks for that, Depression. Let's move on.
Woo-hoo.